In today's video, bad downtown Toronto condo buildings that I would recommend my Toronto condo buyer clients to avoid if possible. That's exactly right, because in today's video, we're gonna go through downtown Toronto condo buildings that I professionally, as a Toronto real estate agent, would typically recommend my Toronto condo buyers to avoid if possible. We're gonna go through each individual condo building. We're gonna spend some more time on some buildings versus others. And all in all, while I'm doing this, I'll try my best to give you one redeeming quality each building has as well. Before we get into that, hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. As always, back with another video for you guys here today. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Sam, a Toronto and GTA real estate agent, actively working across the Toronto and GTA real estate market with buyers and sellers. On this channel, we like to discuss everything having to do with the Toronto real estate market, Toronto condo market, buyer advice, seller advice, area analysis, condo building review, tours of homes I've sold and purchased for clients, and so much more. So if any of this content is enjoyable or informative to you, feel free to subscribe, and you can get in touch with me with my contact information in the description box and probably on the screen as well. Many of my clients have come through YouTube and other social media channels. I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of you wonderful people, so do not hesitate to reach out. So before we get into today's video, I have to make a couple of things very clear. First and foremost, this is just my opinion. Who am I? I'm just one of what now, like 80,000 real estate agents within the GTA. Hey, you can get differing opinions on these buildings. So just my opinion. Number two, these downtown Toronto condos I'm about to name are a bad fit or bad choice in bad buildings for about 95% of buyers out there. Some of them I can think of certain exemptions where if you're a very specific type of buyer who is really flexible, then maybe you should consider these buildings. But that is the exception and not the rule. And fourth, if you live in these buildings or own a unit in one of these buildings, this is not a personal thing whatsoever. I'm happy you own a home, and I'm happy if you're satisfied with it. So please, once again, don't get upset at me. This is just my opinion. And lastly, before we move on, I did a video a while back, one of the most popular videos on my channel, of Toronto condo buildings to avoid, right? And in that video, I listed about 3 to 5 buildings to avoid, and most of them happen to be in downtown. I'm not gonna spend too much time because I've already discussed those buildings, but for the sake of this video and new viewers who haven't seen that video and are watching this video, I'll touch on them here quickly. But let's start with buildings I have not discussed. Let's start the list of bad Toronto condo buildings in downtown Toronto that I would typically recommend a Toronto condo buyer client of mine to avoid if possible. And we're gonna start with the Iceboat Terrace buildings, the Iceboat Terrace Condos. It's those buildings in downtown that look like they have a bridge in between them. And in my opinion, the design is cool, the architecture is cool, it's a little bit different, it stands out. Now, off the bat, one of the main issues with this building is very under elevated. I mean, elevator wait times here are long. Now, not as long as some other buildings I'll get to, but longer than you would ideally want. And there has been some issues of fire alarms. In fact, to the point where as of a year ago, I don't know as of recently, but as of a year ago, there were constant and rampant fire alarms going off across the building, sometimes at very, very odd hours. Residents in this building have complained about parking spots not being respected with regards to if you have assigned parking, whether you're a tenant or an owner, individuals just randomly parking in your spot. Now, this is not an issue with this is obviously not an issue with the actual structure in this case, it's more so the management. Management makes a big difference. If the condo structure is like your body, the management is like the mind or the soul. What's a good, sexy building if it's run poorly? Furthermore, there have been incidences of locker break-ins. Once again, it's not just exclusive to this building, it happens in other buildings. But when you add this on to the laundry list of things that we're going to discuss about this building, it obviously doesn't help. Lower floor units are very close to the train, uncomfortably close to the train. And I know a lot of buildings in this area, obviously buildings in Liberty Village, some condos in Etobicoke. I mean, across the really GTA, if you're close to the GO station or trains, you're going to be close to the trains, right? Some lower floor units, but lower floor units in this building are particularly close to the train. And the door soundproofing, in my experience, is not good. It's not the worst. It is actually mediocre, so it's not horrible, but it's still mediocre. Now on the plus side, as I said, I'll try to say some redeeming qualities. To be fair, you know, because that's what I try to do. The amenities here are quite nice. The design, as I said, it stands out, and I like the design. The location is really amazing. It's outstanding location, and believe it or not, the soundproofing, not from the door to the hallway, but between the units, right, is actually very, very good. At least that's in my experience. Moving on, the next downtown Toronto condo building that I think is a bad building that I would typically recommend my downtown Toronto condo buyer clients to avoid, which is the King Blue Condos, 115 Blue Jays Way. Now, let me tell you, the first time I showed this building, it was brand new. I think, you know, construction just had stopped and it wasn't even incorporated with the city. And I thought, where is this building? I can't find it for the life of me. And the entrance to this building is the most obscure entrance you'll ever find for any major condo development in downtown. I mean, it's almost as if the entrance is in the back alleyway of a downtown Toronto street where there's only the dumpster pickup and where, you know, people do shady things at 2 a.m. The entrance to this building is the most tucked away entrance, and it's so dark and grim. And I understand what they were going for. They were going for the Tridel, what Tridel is famous for, where their entrances are almost like a courtyard and you enter and, you know, the building or the multiple buildings are, you know, touching the sky around you, and that's where the lobby is. Well, this is the President's Choice version of that, where it's not like this magnificent courtyard entrance. It almost feels like a prison cell entrance. Nonetheless, the concierge here is always very wonderful. Every time I've been here, there's this one lady. She's so nice. She's so attentive. She is the redeeming quality of this building. And another redeeming quality before I continue with the cons is, for some reason, rental yields here are quite high. I can't put my finger on it, but there's a lot of students that rent here, a lot of international students, and pretty good rental yields. Other than that though, not much good I can say about this. You know, elevator wait times are a little bit on the high end, nothing horrific. Units are so small, so microscopic, and everything is just so dark. All the units I've seen, southern facing units, northern facing units, western facing units, eastern facing units, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, studios, it's all just so dark and grim, and it's not as if I've just seen units in the wintertime. I've shown units here in the summertime. This building is so bad in the way of getting any natural sunlight because it's surrounded by other buildings, of course, and it's just not in a great area. There's so many better alternatives than this building in the area. We have the Wellington Street condos, Icon 1 and Icon 2, 250 and 270 Wellington. There's so many better alternatives, and the units are absolutely microscopic. Let's move forward to the east side of downtown, particularly Wellesley Street East, 159 Wellesley Street East, near the Moss Park, Cabbage Town area, depending on how you want to divide things. Now, this building is yet another new build that I'm not a fan of whatsoever. The location, you can't even really say the location's fantastic. It's not that central. It's on Wellesley Street East. Those areas are still a bit sketchy. Obviously, ultimately, it's the city of Toronto. Even the worst areas in the city of Toronto, worldwide standards are very safe, but nonetheless, we have to account for that. Now, when I visited this building with my buyers, which upfront, I told my buyers, I don't recommend we take a look at this, but since they were adamant about taking a look at this building, we wanted to, but I did tell them, expect high elevator wait times. Once again, this is a common theme. And you might find this to be non-important, but you use the elevator every time. If you have to wait anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes for the elevator to even longer, it means the building has an issue. It is under elevated. But besides that, the concierge is always that I've been here very disorganized and confused. Maybe I've had a bad experience. If you live in this building, let me know. Maybe the people that are there at the times I'm not there are fantastic, but I have had very bad experiences with the concierge here. And here's the thing, this is probably one of the worst buildings in downtown in terms of noise insulation. I've shown units in this building anywhere from 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom on multiple different floors. On each floor, I'm telling you, I can hear a private conversation 4 units down from us were having while I was towards the end of the floor viewing a unit with a buyer. I can hear the TV from another unit that wasn't even close to us. The noise cancellation here is really bad, I would have to say. The 1-bedroom layouts and the 1+1 bedroom layouts and the 2-bedroom layouts here are very odd. Like something as simple as, you know, having a 2-bedroom, 2-washroom unit. You would think for 2 bedrooms, 2 washroom, you would think that at least one of the washrooms will be in an ensuite. And that is what most builders do. Even the mediocre builders, the C-level builders, the B-level builders, of course, the B and A+ level builders do this. The point here is even the not so good builders, they have enough common sense to know if you have a 2-bedroom, 2-washroom unit, at least put one of the washrooms inside the primary bedroom. I saw a couple of 2-bedroom units in this building that had 2 washrooms, neither of which were inside the primary bedroom. I'm not saying this is the case for all 2 bedrooms. Of course, I did not investigate every single 2-bedroom unit in this building, but for the 2 bedrooms I saw, it was something like weird like that. And that's just an example. A lot of other weird oddities due to the fact that it's an iron flat building. I don't know if that's the right term I'm looking for, but it's like a flat iron building. It leads to a lot of weird angular layouts once again. But on the positive side, I was quite impressed with the amenities. There's a lot of study space, there's a lot of co-working spaces, which should give you an idea of what type of people are occupying this building. Mostly students, mostly young working professionals. So that can also be a negative too, because actually this building has a high amount of renters, abnormally high. I would probably have to say 60 to 70% renters. But the amenities was actually quite impressive. And let's keep moving forward to another BAD Downtown Toronto condo building I would typically recommend my Toronto condo buyers to stay away from. And the next one breaks my heart. The next one really does break my heart because it used to be such a great building. It used to be such a great building, such a sexy building. I like the architecture of it. It's a throwback, it's a classic. The location's fantastic. Used to be so good. But in recent years, unfortunately, it has deteriorated. And this is a very sad case. You know, I can't beat around the bush. There is tremendous amount of issues with the homeless in the area, which is a problem in of itself. And at the end of the day, you know, all this real estate BS, you know, condos, homes, that takes a backseat to the humanity we have to show towards the people in the most need, whether they're, you know, mentally ill individuals, people suffering from addiction, a combination of which housing the homeless should be a priority. However, that is a ought. That is what we ought to do. The fact of the matter is right now I'm talking about what is happening, and you can't beat around the bush. What is happening in the area is a issue with a lot of homeless people injecting around the lobby of this building and around this building. And to be very transparent, I have not visited this building in over 4 months, but last time I was there, it was a issue. So I'm willing to completely say that within the last 4 months, this issue has been completely solved. Nonetheless, this ultimately does have very bad effects on the resale value of the building and the value of the building. Putting aside the fact that it's a really old building anyways, and maintenances are on the higher end. But one thing that I can tell you is probably the worst thing about this building. And I am not exaggerating. This building, I've been doing real estate for 8 years full time. In my 8 years of being a Toronto real estate agent, I have never, with the exception of one other building that I'll name in a future video, I have never dealt with longer wait times for elevators. I swear to you, I could have easily queued the elevator, gone to an adjacent building, ate the Esplanade, queued the elevator there, went up to see the unit, do whatever I had to do in the unit, show it to my client, go through the market comps, give him the pros and cons of the building, give him the pros and cons of the unit, give him the market value, give him the whatever, come down, go back to this building, and the elevator would still not be there. When I tell you that I have waited upwards of 20 minutes for an elevator in this building, I am saying that without an ounce of exaggeration. So the elevator wait times here are horrific. Once again, I'm not going to these buildings every single day. Hopefully they've resolved this issue since I was there last, but I can tell you I've shown this building throughout the course of my career, probably 3-4 times throughout 3-4 years, and every time I've been there, the elevator has been in a problem. Nonetheless, there are redeeming qualities, right? The gym is fantastic, the layouts are fantastic, the size is great, it's very affordable. The condo corp, the management really cares about the building despite the elevator issues. It's just the issue of, you know, the homeless around the building, the injection sites, and the fact that the elevator wait times are horrendous. Moving forward, 19 Western Battery in Liberty Village. Now, you know, on this channel, I say a lot, I'm not the biggest fan of Liberty Village. You know, I think most Liberty Village condos rank from mediocre to bad. There are a few exceptions that are actually decent and good. But 19 Western Battery is one of the newer ones, and I don't like it. I personally don't like it, and I think it's a bad building, at least so far with regards to my exposure to it. It suffers from very cheap build quality. You can tell it's a budgetary builder doing some budgetary work. Once again, the concierge is a little bit on the confused side, kind of rude, not organized. The front desk is not organized. And once again, these are things you might be taking for granted, but understand this, you'll be dealing with the concierge every day. They'll be delivering your packages, they'll be handling your packages, they'll be booking things for you, you know, giving you the parking licenses and parking registrations for your guests, for your own car, if you have a second car. You interact and depend on the concierge and the front desk a lot when you live in a condo. So, hey, this might appear as something not important right now to you, but once you live in a condo, you know how important these things are. And yet, really, this building, in terms of its execution, was so weird and odd. I mean, the hallways are hallways straight out of a building from the 80s, and this building is much newer than that. It's definitely overpriced, in my opinion. And from my understanding, from what I have heard, the management here is very unresponsive and not the best either. Moving on, INDX condos, 70 Temperance. In this building, 3 out of 5 elevators are usually out of service. It has 5 elevators, so it shouldn't be under service, but usually only 3 are working at the same time. A lot of the common areas and amenities, such as the gym, have been going through construction that has been delayed for many months and years. As a result, you know, not only do you lose access of the common areas and amenities, but there's construction occurring. A lot of residents break rules in this building, and it seems as if the management doesn't really enforce any of the rules on this building. And then reception in this building is notoriously bad. I don't know if you've experienced this, but anytime I've been in the hallway, trying to access my email quickly to get the lockbox code or whatever, or call my client, whatever the issue is, I can't get any reception, both on the phone side and both on the data side. But of course, one of the redeeming qualities is the location, very conveniently located near the business district. You can, by the way, check out my Toronto condo building reviews in 60 seconds or less compilation on my channel. Go check out those building reviews. I put a lot of effort in those building reviews where I give you pros and cons, even I dare to say in more detail than this video. So definitely go check out those videos for Toronto condo building reviews in 60 seconds or less. But anyways, let's get back to this video. Now let's touch on some other condos that I've discussed in the past, mainly my Toronto condo buildings to avoid video, because these also fall under the guise of downtown, and maybe you haven't heard me talk about them. Let's touch on them quickly. First, let's start with the condo that shall not be named. And if you don't know why I'm not naming this condo, because I made a viral video on this building and they threatened to sue me. But all I will say is the condo that shall not be named is so bad, in fact, that a lot of lenders will not provide you financing for it if you're depending on a mortgage. We're talking about double homicides, horrific layouts, prostitution, Airbnbs, which is, by the way, a common issue with some of the other buildings I mentioned, poor reserve fund amounts, and other issues such as special assessments. Moving forward, another downtown Toronto condo building that I think is bad, that I would recommend buyers avoid, is 1 King Street West. 1 King Street West is absolutely fantastic in terms of location. You're standing right there outside of King Street, the subway station, and you see 1 King Street West. How much of a better location can you have? Well, guess what? The maintenances here are absurdly high, upwards of $1.20 per square foot, because it used to be a hotel building that now has been converted into a condo building. So as a result, the maintenances are absurdly high because they have to pay for both the condo and the hotel portion of the building. The room layouts are exactly what it sounds like, hotel rooms. The layouts of the units are hotel rooms. And who wants to live in a hotel for a year? In a week or 2 weeks? Fantastic. But imagine that typical hotel layout where your kitchen is just a little small side kitchen by the door. You know, you have a little mini fridge. So incredibly high maintenances with very, very poor layouts. Although you can find very cheap units in this building, and that is a reason why. Of course, ICE condos. I can't go through this video without mentioning the ICE condos. Those buildings already, we know what the issues are. Although I'll say this, ICE condos are turning out to be not the worst buildings. If people are telling you those are the worst buildings, they're not nice, don't get me wrong. I would still tell my Toronto condo buyers to avoid them. But a lot of condos I've mentioned on this list and I'm about to mention are actually worse. But ICE condos, rampant Airbnb issues, management issues, all of that jazz. Another condo building that I probably shouldn't name, but it is by the Gupta Group. It is on Jarvis Street. And, you know, hello, I'll just name it, 251 Jarvis Street. This is probably one of the worst condos in downtown or in the city of Toronto. Very, very confusing configuration where the lobby is on the 5th floor, but there's a lobby on the ground floor. The entrance door literally breaks. I mean, when I was exiting the building once, the lobby door literally broke when I was opening it. Cheap quality build, cheap workmanship. It's not the safest intersection either. And once again, there's a reason why units in this building are very cheap and has poor and limited resale value. Furthermore, hydro and utility costs in this building are absurdly high. Anyways, that is it for today's video. Nowhere near an exhaustive list. And by the way, keep in mind, these are BAD Downtown Toronto Condo building reviews that I would recommend my Toronto condo buyers avoid. We could cover all different types of areas and there's a lot more to talk about. North York, Midtown, West Toronto, East Toronto, York region, so much more, Mississauga even. So if you found this enjoyable and informative, feel free to subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Put your comments in the description box with any questions. And yeah, follow me for more. Get in touch with any buying or selling inquiries. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.